I could feel his eyes on me from across the gym, that same intensity I remembered from decades ago when he used to coach our high school track team. Roy hadn't lost his commanding presence, even at 71. His silver hair caught the overhead, lights as he adjusted the weights, and when he looked up and caught me staring, that familiar smirk spread across his weathered face. "Shirley," he called out, his voice carrying that same authority that used to make us all stand straighter. "You planning to actually work out, or just admire the equipment?" Heat flushed my cheeks, but I wasn't 17 anymore. At 67, I had learned to embrace moments that made my pulse quicken. I walked over, feeling more confident than I had in years. "Just making sure you haven't lost your touch, coach." His laugh was rich and warm. "Oh, I've still got it. Question is, can you keep up?" Before we dive in, if you're enjoying this already, hit that like button and subscribe. Trust me, this story takes some unexpected turns you won't want to miss. Now, let's continue. The gym was nearly empty at this hour, just the way I preferred it. Most people my age had settled into quieter routines, but something about being here, feeling my body move and respond, kept me feeling alive in ways that surprised me. Roy had been coming here longer than anyone, and when he offered to help me with my form a few weeks ago, I hadn't expected our sessions to become the highlight of my week. "Let's start with some stretching," he said, moving to the mats in the shaowai corner. "You've been favoring your left side again." I followed, already feeling that familiar flutter of anticipation. There was something about the way he moved, purposeful and strong, that reminded me why I'd had such a crush on him all those years ago, when he was our coach, and I was just another student-athlete dreaming of state championships. He guided me through the stretches, his hands firm but gentle as he corrected my posture. "Breathe deeper," he murmured, standing behind me as I reached forward. "Feel that tension release." His voice was close to my ear, and I could smell his cologne, something subtle and masculine that made my thoughts wander to places they shouldn't. When his palm pressed lightly against my lower back, encouraging me to stretch further, I had to bite my lip to keep from making a sound. "Good," he said softly. "Now hold it." The weight of his touch sent warmth spreading through me, and I wondered if he could feel how my breathing had changed. We moved through the routine, his guidance becoming more hands-on with each position. When he knelt beside me to adjust my leg placement, his fingers lingered on my thigh longer than necessary, and I caught him looking at me with something that definitely wasn't just professional interest. "Roy," I said quietly, meeting his gaze. "Are we still talking about exercise?" His smile was slow, knowing. "Depends. What else did you have in mind?" The air between us shifted, becoming charged with possibility. I'd been widowed for 3 years now, and while I'd dated some, nothing had sparked this kind of fire in me. There was something about being with someone who remembered me from before, who had seen me at my strongest and most determined. "Maybe we could discuss my progress somewhere more private," I suggested, surprising myself with my boldness. He stood, offering me his hand. "I know just the place." We left the gym together, and I followed his truck to a small cabin he rented on the outskirts of town. It was rustic but comfortable, with a stone fireplace and windows that looked out over the mountains. "I come here to think," he explained as we walked inside. "It's peaceful." He poured us each a glass of wine, and we settled on the couch in front of the fireplace he'd already had burning. "You know," he said, taking a sip of his wine, "I always wondered what happened to that determined girl who used to push herself harder than anyone else on the team." I laughed softly. She grew up, got married, raised kids, lived a life. But sometimes when I'm working out, I feel her again, that hunger to be strong, to feel powerful. He nodded, understanding. "That's what I see when I watch you train. That fire is still there." The conversation flowed easily, years of separation melting away as we shared stories and memories. But underneath it all was that current of attraction, building with every glance and every casual touch when he leaned closer to make a point. When he reached over to tuck a strand of hair behind my ear, I didn't pull away. "Shirley," he said, quietly, his hand still resting against my cheek. "I need to be honest with you. These training sessions, they've been the best part of my week, not because of the exercise." My heart hammered against my ribs. "What are you saying?" Instead of answering with words, he leaned in and kissed me. It was soft at first, tentative, but when I responded by pressing closer, he deepened it, his arms coming around me. The kiss awakened something that had been dormant for far too long. When we broke apart, both breathing harder, I looked into his eyes and saw my own desire reflected there. "I want this," I whispered. "I want you." His response was to pull me closer, his lips finding the sensitive spot just below my ear. "I've wanted this for weeks," he confessed, his breath warm against my skin. We moved together to his bedroom, the years between us meaning nothing in the face of this rediscovered passion. He took his time, as if savoring every moment, every touch. When his hands traced the curves of my body, I felt beautiful in a way I hadn't in years. "You're incredible," he murmured against my shoulder, and I believed him. Our bodies found their rhythm naturally, decades of life experience teaching us to appreciate each moment fully. There was no rush, no urgency beyond the steady building of pleasure between us. When he moved above me, his eyes never left mine, creating an intimacy that went far deeper than physical connection. Every movement was deliberate, designed to bring us both maximum satisfaction. I lost myself in the sensation of being truly desired again, of feeling my body respond with enthusiasm I'd thought was behind me. When the waves of pleasure finally crested and broke over us both, I understood why I'd been drawn back to the gym, back to him. This wasn't just about fitness or even attraction. It was about feeling fully alive again. Afterward, we lay together, in comfortable silence, my head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat slow. "This changes things," I said quietly. He pressed a kiss to the top of my head. "I hope so. I've been alone too long, Shirley. We both have." I lifted my head to look at him. "What do we do now?" His smile was tender. "We take it one day at a time, but I'd like there to be more days like this." The next morning, I practically floated into the coffee shop where I always met my friend Anne for our weekly catch-up. She took one look at me and nearly choked on her latte. "Shirley, what on earth has gotten into you? You look—" She paused, studying my face, absolutely radiant. I couldn't help but smile. "I had a very good evening." Her eyes widened. "With who? You haven't mentioned dating anyone." I told her about Roy, about our training sessions that had evolved into something much more intimate. Anne listened with growing amazement, occasionally fanning herself with her napkin. "At our age," she exclaimed, "how wonderfully scandalous. And here I thought you were just getting serious about fitness." I laughed, feeling younger than I had in years. Sometimes the best things happen when you least expect them. But seriously, Anne leaned forward conspiratorially. "How was it? I mean, after all these years, was it—" She trailed off, too polite to finish the question, but her curiosity was evident. I felt heat rise in my cheeks, but answered honestly. "Anne, it was better than I remembered it being even when I was young. There's something to be said for experience, and taking time to really appreciate each other." She shook her head in wonder. "I'm so jealous. Bill and I barely hold hands anymore. You've inspired me, Shirley. Maybe it's time I started going to the gym too." I grinned. "Just be careful who offers to spot you." We dissolved into giggles like teenagers sharing secrets. That afternoon, I found myself back at the gym earlier than usual, anticipation making it impossible to concentrate on anything else. Roy was already there, and when he saw me, his face lit up with a smile that made my knees weak. "Couldn't stay away?" he teased, but there was genuine warmth in his voice. "Something like that," I replied, moving closer. "I thought maybe we could work on some new exercises." His eyes darkened with understanding. "I think I know exactly what you need." This time, there was no pretense of a normal workout. He led me to a more secluded area of the gym, behind the newer equipment where we couldn't be easily seen. "We shouldn't," I whispered, but my body was already responding to his nearness. "Probably not," he agreed, pulling me against him. "But I can't think about anything else." When he kissed me this time, it was with more urgency, more need. His hands roamed over my workout clothes, finding ways to touch skin, to make me gasp and press closer. I was amazed at how bold I felt, how willing I was to take risks I never would have considered before. "Someone might see," I breathed against his lips. "Let them," he growled back. "Let them see how beautiful you are." The thrill of possibly being discovered only added to the excitement. We found creative ways to touch and tease without completely abandoning discretion, turning our workout into an entirely different kind of physical activity. Every stretch became an excuse for contact, every exercise an opportunity for him to guide my movements with hands that lingered and explored. By the time we left the gym, we were both wound tight with need that could only be satisfied in private. We drove separately to his cabin again, but the moment the door closed behind us, we were in each other's arms. This time there was more urgency, more hunger, as if the afternoon of restrained touching had only made us more desperate for complete connection. He lifted me easily, carrying me to the bedroom with a strength that made me feel delicate and cherished. When he laid me down on the bed, his eyes roamed over me with such appreciation that I felt no self-consciousness about my age or the changes time had brought to my body. To him, I was desirable, wanted, needed. Our lovemaking was different this time, more passionate, more demanding. We had moved past the tentative exploration of the night before to something deeper and more consuming. When he moved within me, I met him with equal fervor, our bodies finding a rhythm that felt both new and familiar, as if we were remembering something we'd always known. The pleasure built between us like a storm gathering strength, each movement, each touch, each whispered endearment adding to the intensity. When release finally claimed us both, it was with a force that left us trembling and gasping, clinging to each other as if we might float away without that anchor. Later, as we lay entwined in the lamplight, I traced patterns on his chest with my fingertip. I never expected this, I admitted. At my age, I thought passion was something that belonged to my past. He caught my hand, bringing it to his lips to kiss my palm. Maybe that's the beauty of it. We're old enough to know how rare and precious this is. We won't waste time on games or pretending we don't feel what we feel. The weeks that followed became a series of stolen moments and secret meetings. Our gym sessions remained the perfect cover, but they evolved into a complex dance of flirtation and restraint that made the eventual release even sweeter. We learned each other's bodies like students devoted to their craft, finding new ways to bring pleasure and satisfaction. Sometimes, Anne would join us at the gym, and I'd catch her watching Roy with new appreciation. "I see what you mean," she'd whisper to me. "There's something about the way he moves, the confidence. No wonder you fell for him." She'd started working out more regularly herself, and I couldn't help but notice how she brightened when Roy complimented her form or offered encouragement. One evening, after a particularly intense training session that had left me flushed and breathless for reasons having nothing to do with cardio, Anne lingered as Roy and I prepared to leave. "Would it be terrible if I asked?" she began, then stopped, shaking her head. "Never mind, it's ridiculous." Roy and I exchanged glances. "What is it, Anne?" I asked gently. She took a deep breath. "I was wondering if maybe, sometime, I could join you two. Not for training," she added quickly, her cheeks bright red. "I mean, I know what you two do after the gym, and God, I can't believe I'm saying this. I haven't felt desired in so long, and watching how Roy looks at you, how alive you are together. I just wondered if there might be room for one more." The suggestion hung in the air between us, shocking in its boldness but not entirely unwelcome. I looked at Roy, seeing my own surprise reflected in his expression, but also something else. Consideration, perhaps even intrigue. "Anne," I said carefully, "are you sure that's what you want?" She nodded, not trusting her voice. Roy cleared his throat. "It's not unheard of," he said quietly. 3 people can create something beautiful together if everyone's honest about what they want and what they're comfortable with. He looked between Anne and me. But it would change things. We'd need to be very clear about boundaries and expectations. The idea was both thrilling and terrifying. I'd never considered such an arrangement, but looking at Anne's hopeful, nervous expression, I realized I didn't want to deny her the kind of awakening I'd experienced. And if I was being completely honest, the thought of sharing this experience with my closest friend added an element of excitement I hadn't anticipated. "Maybe we could start slowly," I suggested. "See how it feels for everyone involved." Anne's face lit up with relief and anticipation. Roy nodded thoughtfully. "We could meet at the cabin this weekend. No pressure, just see what develops naturally." The plan was set, and as we parted that night, I felt a mixture of nervousness and exhilaration about what we were proposing to explore. Saturday evening found the 3 of us at Roy's cabin, sitting around the fireplace with wine and conversation that felt both familiar and charged with new possibility. Anne had taken extra care with her appearance, and I could see the confidence it gave her. Roy was attentive to both of us, making sure we felt comfortable and desired. When the moment felt right, he stood and extended his hands to both of us. "Shall we see where this takes us?" What followed was a gentle, caring exploration of new boundaries and shared pleasure. There was no jealousy, only a sense of abundant joy in discovering new ways to connect and bring happiness to each other. Anne's wonder and gratitude as she experienced passion she'd thought was lost forever only enhanced my own pleasure. Watching Roy bring the same tender attention to her that he showed me made me love him even more. We learned that desire doesn't diminish with age, it only becomes more precious and more conscious of its own worth. In the quiet aftermath, as we lay together in peaceful contentment, I marveled at how much my life had changed since that first day Roy corrected my form at the gym. What started as a simple desire to stay fit had awakened parts of myself I'd thought were dormant forever. So tell me, would you have the courage to let an old coach train you in completely new ways? Sometimes the most unexpected teachers show us the most about ourselves. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I love hearing what resonates with you. And if this story sparked something in you, hit that like button, subscribe for more tales of unexpected passion, and ring that notification bell so you never miss when desire finds its way into ordinary moments. Thanks for sharing this journey with me. Until next time, keep your heart open to surprise.